All right, well, are they coming for your home garden now? Because your home garden has a higher carbon footprint than an industrial garden. I mean, that's kind of a no duh, but okay, we're going to go through this because this new study makes me think that maybe they are. Here's a new study that suggests that urban gardens have a higher carbon footprint than conventionally grown produce. In this study, researchers say gardens like this one, they're bad for the earth, worse than conventional farming. Now, why this worries me is because when we see globalists tell you what has a high carbon footprint, then they're signaling to us what they're going to start tamping down on. What that makes me think of is collectivization, which we're going to talk about in a second. But this is like, duh, right? Like anything I make at home is going to be more efficient if it scales. Like, okay, if I'm sewing clothes,
put another way, it's less efficient at home.
Everything is less efficient at home.
Like if
right?
you try to build your own car, it's not going to probably be as efficient as Ford can do it.
Absolutely. You can make that argument with everything, right? That if it's made in a factory versus me with my own hands, there's going to be less carbon footprint of all the McDonald's hamburgers than what I make in my house. The Japanese have a word for this. I forget what it is now. And of course, industrial farming is going to be more efficient with farms like this. Here's a video that I just thought you might enjoy watching because I could watch this all day.
That's amazing.
I don't pick apples and carrots to this efficiency.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So isn't this fun?
It's so satisfying.
It's so satisfying to watch that. I'm going to let this run while I talk. The study further showed that fruit is found to be 8.6 times more eco-friendly when grown conventionally compared to a city. Whereas vegetables are 5.8 times better for the environment when left to the professionals. I think the Japanese concept of Kaizen is like automation makes things more efficient and you learn as you do it, right?
Right.
So, okay, no duh, right? So why is this a concern, this study? Is there an agenda to stop you from doing this?
Yes.
Could this be used against you?
Yes.
Right. And so I just want to remind you that we're not too far off from periods of history where people were starved to death in order to control them. One period was the collectivization period we just mentioned in the previous segment under the Stalin-led Soviet Union. He ordered police to seize privately held farms in Ukraine and turn those farms into grain farms. And those people had nothing left except for what the government would dole out to them, which was practically nothing. More than 1 million Ukrainian farmers were exiled and tens of thousands starved, many of them children. Now, according to journalist and writer Anna Reid, Ukrainians and Russians are still afraid to talk about this. This comes from her book, Borderland. She says finding Ukrainians who are willing to talk about the famine is surprisingly hard. The younger generations have been told little by their parents and grandparents for fear that such talk might compromise their careers, even their lives. It wasn't something we talked about in our family. It was a typical comment. The old who remember it firsthand are dying off fast and do not like confiding in strangers. So it was that traumatizing, but the death toll was astounding. Look at these estimates. Exactly how many people died is unclear. But as Khrushchev admitted in his memoirs, no one was counting. Some say 4 to 5 million. Others say 5 million Ukrainians and 2 million elsewhere in the Soviet Union. Another 6.5 million, he said, died in I can't say that word. You read it there. If conquest is right, the whole operation killed over twice as many as the Holocaust. 34 lives, not for every word, but for every letter in this book, she says. So it's terrible. And here's a horrifying example of just how bad it got. One family said they sold everything, their icons, clothes, pillows, to buy rye. But by the winter, they were living off anything they could find. People were eating straw and lime tree leaves, making kasha out of bark and nettles. She said she went to see her uncle. This is awful. I'm just warning you. And they were served a stew, and they saw it was made from mice. There were tails sticking out of it. Ugh. They said compared to most villages, though, they were lucky because they could trawl, which was illegal, which is using your blankets to fish in the river for fish or mullocks. Even so, she says 2 families died. Some got so bad that they were killing their children and eating them. Okay, so do I show you this to scare you? Maybe a little. Yeah, I think it's worth saying, like, let's never do that again. If I'm manipulating you, I'm at least honest about it, right? I'm showing you this so that we never do this again, right? That's my purpose here, not just to be sensational. Because when people are discouraged from growing their own food, I tend to get a little worried. Who would fund a study like this, right? And it seems to go hand in hand with the rhetoric at this year's World Economic Forum in Davos, where crazies like this lady said farming is a problem and we need to start punishing people who do it.
I mean, ecocide as a word is becoming better known around the world, and the concept is generally mass damage and destruction of nature. But legally speaking, what our organisation and other collaborators aim to do is to have this recognised legally as a serious crime. Because one of the issues that sort of pervades all of this discussion is that we have a kind of cultural, very ingrained habit of not taking damage to nature as seriously as we take damage to people and property. And that, I mean, you know, if you're campaigning for human rights, at least you know mass murder, torture, all of these things are serious crimes. But there's no equivalent in the environmental space. And so, you know, unlike an international crime like genocide that involves a specific intent, with ecocide, what we see is actually what people are trying to do, what businesses are trying to do, is make money, is farm, is fish, is do all of these things that are, you know, producing energy and so on, as well. But what's missing is the awareness and the conscience around the side effects, around the collateral damage that happens with that.
Okay, so I don't know how she intends to eat, but here's another lady who says that, yeah, because farming is so problematic, just get used to AI-made food.
A lot of our things, what you can do is scarcity, and we have products which you can make via biology. It's so that you can replace or augment natural products, especially with climate change making them more difficult to produce. The other thing that you can use with AI is increase your solution space. So if you love the taste and aroma of vanilla, can we have something that's reminiscent of that is new to the world, and using AI to increase that solution space that a human alone would not be able to do? So that's something we're definitely leveraging, using receptor biology data and millions of data points there, using our understanding of taste and smell to identify what can be new that can help consumers to have sustainable solutions that are also really, you know, desirable, right?
Can you imagine having dinner with that woman? Yeah, we're not going to have vanilla dessert tonight, but I did bring a Yankee candle.
You can chew on that.
You can chew on that, or I'm going to light it. You can just smell that Yankee vanilla candle.
By the way, we have AI vanilla.
Like
we already have synthetic vanilla.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
It's the homeopathy of dinner. Just a little bit of what you want to eat in there, like just the smell.
Smell, but you can't eat it.